This past Friday, a couple hundred Amazon workers who are primarily Somali refugees, they gathered outside the fulfillment center in Shakopee, Minnesota, and staged a protest in which they complained about, and I kid you not, inadequate paid prayer time. Yes, and they also complained about allegedly unreasonable productivity expectations, and they called on Amazon to promote more East African workers and to stop selling products that advance hatred and bigotry, although I wasn't able to find any specific examples of such products. If any of you guys know what products they're talking about, please put it in the comments because I am interested. But anyway, Vox is obviously a big fan of Islam, so they published this article in support of the workers' demands here, and I'll go through the details from this and other sources in a moment. But first, let me show you some footage from the ground. And let's start with the new Congresswoman-elect from Minnesota's 5th District. This is Ilhan Omar, who herself is a Somali immigrant, so I think you can guess whose side she took on this debate. And here she is explaining the protests to a local news network.
Amazon has been really helpful, right, in closing the disparity gap in employment in the East African community. When they came in, we were all excited about the possibility of the partnerships that we can build. And to now hear that there are employees here who are not able to get breaks so that they can pray.
Yup, she's 100% serious about this, and she's not alone. Here's some more of that Somali spirit.
People who are going to receive those gifts, the packages that you guys are putting together, need to know that every worker here is not fully happy. Their dignity is not being uplifted. For the honest work they're putting in, that is not being respected.
Alright, I think that's enough of that, so let's go through this Vox article now. This was written by a young lady named Shavi Lieber, and I'll just read some key portions from this piece. Kadra Ibrahim, a 28-year-old single mother of two and Somali immigrant living in Minneapolis, has been working at Amazon's Shakopee Fulfillment Center for 2 years. As a practicing Muslim, Ibrahim tries to pray 5 times a day, but because Amazon has the warehouse associates working on a strict hourly packing quota, she says she cannot take a prayer break. Associates are pressured to make rate, with the rate number increasing and decreasing depending on the seasonal demand. Duh. The warehouse's current packing rate is 240 boxes an hour, Ibrahim says, but it's gone as high as 400. Associates are penalized if they fall behind this rate. They can get a write-up from a manager if they are too slow, which can lead to them being terminated. Well, yeah, it's a manual labor job. What do you expect? That's about 6 boxes a minute for the high estimate, and most Amazon packages are small to medium boxes. I think that's a manageable quota for seasonal high demand. I mean, if you can't make that prime delivery speed, then someone else will, right? That's the economic opportunity you migrated here for. Anyway, back to the article. Ibrahim usually chooses to pray during her timed breaks. Breaks make our rate slow down, and then we'd be at risk of getting fired. And so most of the time we choose prayer over bathroom and have learned to balance our bodily needs, she told me in a recent phone interview. Well, Miss Ibrahim, that is your choice. If it were me, I'd head to the bathroom, but it's not Amazon's fault if you want to face Mecca instead. It's your break time. And guys, here's some rare good information from Vox, although in my opinion it really cuts against their argument. Minneapolis is a haven for East African immigrants like Ibrahim, who flock to the area because of the ample job opportunities and because the state of Minnesota has a robust infrastructure to accommodate refugees and immigrants. The East African immigrants in Minneapolis are both refugees and non-refugees, and they come from countries like Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Kenya. Local press has even referred to Minneapolis as Little Mogadishu because it is the largest Somali community outside of East Africa. East African immigrant workers have been trying to raise their issues with Amazon for some time. Last month, the New York Times reported that the workers had made history by getting Amazon executives to sit down with them and listen to their complaints. In response to the meeting, Amazon made changes that mainly dealt with issues around practicing Islam. Muslim Amazon workers had no place to pray in the warehouse, and they complained about not being able to keep up with the job during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan when they fast until sundown. Amazon responded by creating a dedicated prayer space and said it has been working to make shifts more manageable during Ramadan. But Muse says these moves are like band-aids that address small issues without tackling the larger problems. People frequently talk about pressure they get taking any breaks at Amazon, but Muslims are impacted more than others due to prayer obligations. During Ramadan and the holiday that marks its end, Eid, employees have the right to use PTO, unpaid time off, or vacation time if they have time available in account. They have to use those banked time allotments for religious holidays, giving them less time than their non-Muslim co-workers to take off for when their kids get sick. Amazon workers have been fired for not meeting their rate in the past, according to the Awood Center, a scenario that workers have said was a result of their observing Ramadan. Well, I think everyone appreciates that religions have consequences, right? Some religions have more demands than others, and you just gotta make your choices. What else is there to say? Regarding its prayer breaks, Amazon told me that prayer breaks less than 20 minutes are paid, and productivity expectations are not adjusted for such breaks. Associates are welcome to request an unpaid prayer break for over 20 minutes, for which productivity expectations would be adjusted. Yeah, sounds fair enough to me. Ibrahim also says that until recently, nearly all Amazon managers at the Shikopi warehouse were white, which contributed to the culture gap many African workers perceive in the facility. Amazon recently brought in a Muslim manager for the warehouse from Austin who is from Libya. Muse says the hire is upsetting to existing workers because there's plenty of talent at the local warehouse, which is clearly not being recognized for managers. Man, this just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. So it wasn't enough that Amazon brought in a Muslim from Austin, which is an awesome city to live in. They brought him to Shikopi, Minnesota, presumably to make these Somali workers feel better and improve workplace understanding, but that wasn't enough because he was a North African from Libya and they prefer an East African manager from Somalia. Give me a break. Obviously, I'm calling BS on all of this because just look at some of the concessions that Amazon has already made to the Somali workers at this fulfillment center. It's crazy. This is coming from Amazon spokeswoman Siobhan Brown. She says that Amazon has purchased prayer mats from a local Muslim supplier and offered them to associates to use throughout the Shikopi warehouse. They've also converted a large conference room into a quiet prayer room during the month of Ramadan. They've also allowed employees to transfer to the night shift during Ramadan if they prefer to sleep during fasting times. They've also approved leaves of absence for workers who wanted to take Ramadan off, either the whole month or intermittently. They've also offered unlimited time off to workers with no repercussions to observe Eid al-Fitr, a 3-day religious holiday marking the end of Ramadan. And again, they've allowed workers to take paid prayer breaks provided they are less than 20 minutes. Being inclusive is something that Amazon tries to be, Brown said. The company wants its employees to be happy and healthy and strives for a best-in-class working environment. She also said that workers would not suffer repercussions for walking out on Friday because we respect the rights of groups and individuals to have a voice. I mean, this is just my opinion, guys, but I really feel like Amazon is already bent over backwards for these Somali workers, and this statement that they issued to Gizmodo seems to support that. The majority of the people participating in today's events are not Amazon associates because most Amazon associates are at work today sending out thousands of holiday packages for customers. We are disappointed in today's efforts to undermine the dedicated and hardworking people who are the life and soul of our business. For them, it was business as usual. Yeah, so I think I'm 100% behind Amazon on this debate. I'll kick it back to you guys in a minute, but here are some closing thoughts. If this was simply a matter of workers protesting about unreasonable productivity expectations and there was evidence of demonstrable harm, then I could absolutely get behind that. It's not like I have a sworn allegiance to Amazon or any other business. But when these workers complain about a lack of paid prayer time and they want the company to build them dedicated prayer spaces at the facility, that's where they lose me. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me how they could even think that this is a reasonable request. You know, I'm not a religious person at this point in my life, but I would never think about asking my employer to accommodate personal religious practices in such an entitled way. It's one thing to say, hey, I have a religious dietary restriction. Would you mind getting some cheese pizza for the holiday party instead of just pepperoni? That's a reasonable accommodation that one could request. But demanding paid religious break time and dedicated prayer sections at the place of business? I mean, these workers need to understand that this is the West. We don't do that here. Fortunately, it doesn't look like Amazon is going to cave into any more of those absurd demands, and so far this story hasn't really made national news, so hopefully it just dies down, the workers get back to work, and life moves on, but we'll see. I'll keep an eye on this story and provide updates for you as necessary, but let me know what you guys think. Surely everyone has to agree with me on this one, right? Regardless